Good afternoon, good evening. I'm greatly also honored to moderate this session 2. Rules of procedure are the same as the session 1. Since we are a little bit behind the schedule, let's get just started to the presentation. We have 4 presentations. First presenter is the Professor Jian Guo from National Taiwan Ocean University. He will be presenting on the subject of impact of COVID-19 pandemic on merchant marine seafarers in Taiwan. Professor Guo, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, dear Chairman. Today, I'm Jian Guo. Today, I want to talk about issue the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on merchant marine seafaring in Taiwan. 下一页，念得到？可以。下一页。Yes, first introduction. You know the COVID-19 COVID-19 has spread to all parts of the world and affects everyone's life. As over October 10, 2021, more than 238 million people worldwide have been infected with the disease, and more than 4.86 million people have died from the disease. We know the shipping industry and its shipbuilders are also deeply affected by COVID-19. And most countries have adopted high standard border control measures regarding the shipbuilders' landing activity, and the rotation of shipbuilders are strictly restricted or even prohibited. The COVID-19 pandemic has put shipbuilders around the world in precarious situations. As of July 2021, it's estimated that 250,000 shipbuilders are currently stranded on ships beyond the end of their original contract and unable to be repatriated due to the COVID-19 travel restrictions. This study, our research purpose is to explore the physical and psychological impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Taiwanese merchant marine crews. We expect that the findings of this study can be used as a reference for improving the quality of shipbuilders' life under the pandemic. Our research method is in order to gain insight into the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the Taiwanese merchant marine shipbuilders, we use the both quantitative and qualitative research methods. We design a questionnaire on Google Form to collect the relevant information. This study uses social media like to remotely interview more than 10 crew members of both ships to grasp their working emotion and psychological state under the pandemic. We use a questionnaire. This questionnaire consists of 15 questions and was distributed through a Google Form link. The survey period for the questionnaire is from June 18 to 30, 2021. The following are 2 examples of items. First, does the COVID-19 outbreak affect your work before? And does the COVID-19 pandemic affect your service time of your latest ship? We can see the right side diagram. You can see that all the answer to the questionnaire, they are most than 50% the member work on container ship. Okay, and let's say a total total of 327 very questionnaires have been collected. Those who served on a container ship and those on bulk carrier were 189 and 89 respectively, accounting for 15% and 27%. Okay, our research finding is following. First, increased shipyards workload. Before the pandemic, length of work contracts for Chinese shipyards was generally about 8 to 9 months. However, under the pandemic, according to the survey of the study, more than 46% of responders had a working period of more than 9 months on board ship. And about 26 the crew members are more than 11 months. And you can see the right side diagram 175 crew member index is the contract period was extended, accounting for 57.5%. In contrast, 20 crew member index the contract period was shorter, while remain 130 crew member indexed that there was no impact. So, okay. We also interviewed the crew member on board to understand the details of the impact of the pandemic on seafarers. The content on the right side is a description of the second officer of a container ship. He said the container ship has served a step between Taiwan and the northern port of China. It's a relatively busy near ocean route. There have always been additional deck officers all prepared on board to assist the deck officer. However, due to the pandemic situation, it's difficult to assign the member. When I first arrived on this ship, there was no additional officer or prepared on the ship, and the workload did indeed increase. Yes.
Professor Guo, you have to speed up.
Okay. So we can see the right side, the impact of the pandemic on the work efficiency. 160 people say their work efficiency has decreased, accounting for 49. Okay, so next 我推了当结果，那么快？上页再来。Okay, I think this page is very important. So I talk about this page. The pandemic had a very significant impact on our new entrants. The following is a description of a female navigation student who is looking forward to port. She said, after 3 years of majoring in the navigation, I'm of course very eager to get on board for an internship. But this year, the shipping company provided another internship activity than in the previous year. So I hope the pandemic will pass soon. Let me have the opportunity to complete the dream of the study. Okay, next. 我下面不要结论了。Okay, that's all. This is my report. Thank you very much for your listening.
Okay, thank you, Professor Guo, for your comprehensive presentation. You saved some time without saying about a few slides. Thank you for that. Since we have also time constraint, I could have one question or comment. Anyone who want to ask question or comment from online? Anyone from floor? Well, I do not have anyone who wish to make a question. So I just want to ask one short question. Professor Guo, please explain current situation regarding crew change in your ports and vaccine priority and rate of vaccination of Taiwanese seafarers.
Madam, could you repeat your question, please?
Okay. Just explain current situation of the crew exchange in Taiwan ports, and vaccination rate and the vaccine priority for seafarers in Taiwan, please.
Yeah, now it's difficult to change crew member in the Taiwan port. For Taiwanese government also have a very strict the border control measures. So for foreign vessel, if they want to change crew member in the Taiwan port, they must follow the Taiwan government the rules for the border control measures. I think this is very. I think this is not easy for every company, even though Taiwan's shipping company like Evergreen, One High, and Yamin Line, if they employ some Filipino or mainland crew member, I think it's not easy to arrange the rotation of the crew member. But I think after war, it is will become more easier step by step. If the pandemic is not so strict, I think the rotation of seafarer will become more easy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Guo, for your presentation and answer. Well, next presenter is lecturer Dr. Hoang Thi Rich from Vietnam Maritime University. You have a floor now. 10 minutes, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So now I would like to tell you a little bit about the impact of COVID-19 on ship calls and cargo throughput of Haiphong port. So now we are in Haiphong now, but we are very lucky because we have a good solution to control the COVID case in Haiphong City. So next slide, please. So a little bit information about myself. So now I'm the head of departments of Global Studies and Maritime Affairs, Economic Faculties, and Vietnam Maritime University. Next please. So my presentation covers the following contents. The first one, introduction. The second one, overviews of Haiphong Port. And also I want to tell you a little bit about Vietnam seaport system. Next one is ship calls and cargo throughput in Haiphong Port. And finally, the conclusion. Next, please. So as you know that seaports plays an important part in the national economy in Vietnam also. So seaports plays an important role in the import and export because more than 80% of import and export from into Vietnam by maritime transport. And seaport can create 1,000 jobs and also plays an important part in the Haiphong economy. And Up to now, the cases of COVID in Vietnam, more than 900,000 cases with more than 20,000 deaths. And however, in Haiphong, so we have 63 provinces and cities in Vietnam, and Haiphong is one of the 4 big cities in Vietnam. However, we just have a total 87 cases. Okay, no one died from the COVID. So we are very lucky. So it is only one of the main reasons why we have the dramatically numbers of cargo throughput and also the ship calls in Haiphong port in recent years. And you know that the Haiphong port is one of the biggest port in Vietnam. The second biggest port in Vietnam exactly, and the biggest seaport in the north of Vietnam. Vietnam seaport system, we have 6 groups, but now from 2021, we just have 5 groups, but we have 45 seaport in Vietnam, and different kinds of seaport. We have Taiwan, Tai 2, and Tai 3, and Haiphong is classified in Taiwan A. Taiwan A is a very, very special one, and it plays a very crucial part in the national economies of Vietnam. Next, please. And Haiphong has a favorable geographical location with more than 100 kilometers coastline, and it has a lot of suitable, for example, suitable condition. For example, it has 5 transport modes, connecting to Haiphong port. For example, air transport, road transport, rail transport, sea lane, inland waterway transport, etc. So it has a lot of suitable condition connecting to port of Haiphong, and it can make the Haiphong port developed. And the hinterlands of Haiphong seaport is very very good, for Haiphong to develop. And as you can see on the map of the slide, all the terminals of Haiphong seaport located on the bank of Cấm River. So it has some limitations like the depth, or the channels very long but shallow. So now we tend to move the sea location. For example, we have the new container terminal here, and then maybe in the future we move all the inland or very close to the city center to a new location very close to the sea to improve the depth of the water. Next, please. And here's some characteristics of terminal in Haiphong port. So as you can see in my full paper in the journal. Next, please. So I have to say a little bit about the ship calls. So you can see the figures. So the numbers of ship calls increase year after year, even in the COVID pandemic. And this is so it's not clear for me to see. So this is the numbers for 20 and 20. But so next, please. So also the ship calls from 2015 to 2020, we have to witness the increase of more than 2,000 ships called at the Haiphong seaport. And in the first quarters of 2021, more than 9,000 ships called at the port. So it increased, accounting for more than 21% over the same period in 2020. Next, please. So talking about the cargo throughput, we also witnessed a very dramatic increase for total cargo throughput and then container cargo throughput. Next, please. So for more detail, the numbers of cargo throughput and container cargo, so you can see on my paper. Okay. So next, please. Next, please. Next one. Next one. Okay. So now this morning I have the numbers of container cargo throughput and also the total cargo throughput to Vietnam seaport system. So after 9 months of the years of 2021, so we have more than 540 million tons. So it increased accounting for 3% over the same period. I mean the 9 months when we compare to the 9 months in 2020. And for container cargoes, we have more than 18 million TEUs. So it increased for more than 9% for the same period. And about Hải Phòng seaport, so we have the dramatical percentage, more than 15% increase over the same period. Okay, so we have just kinds of good result because we have a suitable measurement or solution to the COVID pandemic, and especially the leaders in Hải Phòng city. So they have also the very strictly measurement, okay, and especially for the Hải Phòng port. So we have some kinds of measurement based on the regulation from the health ministries of Vietnam, and we also have follow some guides or instructions from ministries of maritime and from the maritime administrations in Hải Phòng. And in conclusion, even in the case of lockdowns, in the times of lockdown and pandemic, so in very hard times, so Hải Phòng has witnessed very dramatic increase respect on the ship cost and the cargo throughput. So it can contribute a lot to the economics of Hải Phòng. So only Hải Phòng, based on the statistics from Vietnam government, witnessed the dramatic development of GDP more than 10%, exactly 12.5% in the first 9 months of 2021. So it means that we are still in the good control, and it means that we have a very suitable and a lot of the ships and the shipping companies or the port operators, okay, they apply some kinds of strict regulation. So all of us are trying our best to keep the Hải Phòng seaport, okay, because the Hải Phòng seaport is very important to the north of Vietnam. So if Hải Phòng seaport locked down, so what happened? What happened? Okay, it's a very bad case will happen to the north of Vietnam. So in a short time, so I can say a little bit about information of ship cost and cargo throughput during the times of a pandemic. So thank you so much for your attention. So now I want to listen to your comment and willing to answer all your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lecturer Ms. Rich, for your punctual and comprehensive presentation. You can have 1 or 2 questions from online. Is there any question or comment from online? Anyone? You are beginning to a little bit tired. in the afternoon? Anyone from floor? I see none. So then I would like ask short question to you. It seems to me that Hai Phong port in Vietnam is a very, very important port. Result of research showed that the situation is happy for shipping companies and port operators, but again, it is unhappy for seafarers. Anyway, could you tell us about what will be the situation of Hai Phong port next year, please?
Okay. So can you come back to the slides of the maps of terminals in Hai Phong port? So the future development of Hai Phong seaport will build another container terminals in the sea location. And we call the investor from the domestic investor and also from foreigners. And we do also move some terminals very close to the city center, to the sea location, in order to improve the depth of the water level and also to get rid of the environment pollution. And in the future, we do also invest some modern equipment for handling cargo. And we also apply some kinds of technology, and we want to develop the Hai Phong port into the e-port or smart port in the future. And we do also find out some solution to develop or to make the Hai Phong seaport greener and greener by setting some criteria. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for your presentation and very informative answers. Then let's move to next presenter, Professor Angelica. You have been waiting quite some time. Floor is yours. Please, 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Dr. Jun Woong Woo. Good day, everyone. My presentation is entitled Sustainable Development in Maritime Education and Training, or STMET, towards Human Resource Development today and years to come for a smart maritime industry, which is in line with the theme of the 2021 AMFUF. Next slide shows the flow of my presentation from introduction with objectives and methods to discussion of results, and will end in conclusion, recommendation, and acknowledgement with focus only on STMET towards human resource development. Next is a brief introduction. In the maritime education sector, STMET is distinguished as an innovative approach to educational change and transformation. Maritime education and training plays a significant role in forming competitive and excellent global human resources that would form part of the shipping workforce. Next is the importance of human resource development. Human resources is critical in the development of an efficient and effective workforce. Human resource development is a process of achieving better productivity by providing how people can grow in their jobs. People should be allowed to hone their knowledge, skills, attitude, and behaviors, to have a positive outlook, and perform their jobs more effectively and efficiently. Therefore, the primary goal of maritime human resources development is how best to keep the seafarers current, vibrant, and adaptable, so that they can continuously perform their roles successfully despite the rapid socio-economic, technological innovations, advancement, and the COVID-19 pandemic being experienced today. Next is the objective. This study was a product of a joint research between MAUP, World Maritime University, the AAST, Egypt, University Polytechnic Catalunya, Spain, as we explored the landscape of sustainable development in maritime institutions. Jointly navigated the level by which sustainable development is incorporated or practiced, that will lead to a better understanding of how the sustainable development concept helps boost human resource development. And then we describe the perspectives of institutional representatives and students on various areas of sustainable developments, which I will be describing in the next succeeding slides. The study provides us with the research-based information relevant to making wise decisions for sustainable development. The results are essential in developing innovative quality plans and programs for continual process improvement. The implications of findings to human resource development are paramount to ensuring that we produce globally competitive and quality graduates for the shipping industry workforce. Next is the methodology. We use a mixed method approach involving qualitative and quantitative research techniques. The research instruments were developed from a comprehensive literature review on sustainable development in general and integrating sustainable development in maritime institutions. We use structured online survey questionnaires, both for school representatives and students. We also use a semi-structured interview for school representatives, which were also done online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The participants involved 73 school representatives that provided a high 47% response rate from the 31 IAMU member universities involved in the study. There were also 405 students. The statistical analysis were done using SPSS version 26, and we follow research ethics. Next are the results and discussions. In both the quantitative and qualitative analysis of data, the respondents' definition of sustainable development coalesces around the definition used in the 1987 Brundtland Commission report, that is, sustainable development meets the needs of current generation without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their own needs. The three sustainable dimensions, namely economy, environment, and society, are considered equally important. Next slide reveals that most 64% higher educational institutions considered sustainable development in their organization's general operations. In addition, the majority, 70%, claimed that sustainable development is required in their curriculum. Although most institutions implemented sustainable development, however, in terms of policies, only 42% reported having concrete sustainable development policies and 53% with social responsibility policy. Next slide illustrates that both institutional representative and students rank sustainable dimensions in the same order, with the environment as top one, followed by society and then economics. However, students give relatively higher importance to these three dimensions than the institutional representatives. Next slide indicates that the majority of the students have positive to very positive commitment to sustainable development and deem that sustainable development issues in education are significant. However, only 37% manifested awareness of the existence of sustainable development practices or initiatives or sustainable development employability in their respective institutions. Next slide shows that on average, the maritime institutions involved in the study lean towards having no concrete governance issues and facilities for sustainable development, as shown by the mean ratings. Likewise, incentives for staff and students to work on sustainability are not fully present at the time of the research. Next slide reveals that institutional representatives on average tend to agree on various governance issues and facilities for sustainable development. They believe that facilities are designed and built based on sustainable development principles with the highest mean rating of 3.94, followed by having clear rules for waste management in their facilities. but they have neutral views concerning incentives for faculty and staff to operate sustainably, having incentives for students to work sustainably, the institution's operations leaving only a small carbon footprints, and the waste is recycled in the institution as shown in the mean ratings. Next slide shows that on average, the institutions involved in the study lean towards having no concrete governance issues and facilities for sustainability. However, on average, institutional representatives tend to agree on various governance issues and facilities. On top of these governance concerns, they tend to believe that the facilities are designed and built based on sustainable development principles. They also have clear rules for waste management in their institutions. On the other hand, institutional representatives had neutral views concerning incentives for faculty and staff to operate sustainably, incentivizing students to work sustainably, the institution's operations leaving only a small carbon footprints, and the waste being a recycled institution. This result may be related to the moderate 42% of them having renewable energy sources in their institutions. Next slides indicate that on a scale of 0 to 10, institutional representatives are a bit neutral on their responses regarding their institutional measures for various measures to address elements of operational sustainable development. The top mean of 6.58 is on efficient use of water, followed by the greening of institutional campuses with a mean of 6.28. In contrast, institutions have none or almost no measures for vehicles powered from renewable sources and mechanisms track the institutional carbon footprints. On the other hand, students have slightly higher regard toward the institutional measures to address elements of operational sustainable development. The top mean of 6.72 is on effective waste recycling, followed by water reduction. Like the institutional representatives, the students provided their lowest mean ratings on vehicles powered from renewable sources. For the most part, the students' views on the institution's commitment to sustainable development through various governance issues and facilities tend to be positive. Next slide reveals that sustainable development policies and procedures are quite inadequate. The top institutional measure, conferences on sustainable development, only gained 32%, while the subsequent continuous professional development of human resources on sustainable development is 22%. Only 16% have guidance on integrating sustainable development in their institutional operations. Next slide shows that while both institutional representatives and students have a relatively unimpressive level of awareness and commitment to sustainable development, it is interesting to note that students have higher ratings than institutional representatives on the scale of 0 to 10. The overall outcome of the research suggests that faculty, staff, and students are not as aware of and committed to sustainable development issues as may be considered ideal with less optimal means. Direct inspection of mean ratings suggests that institutional representatives provided lower scores for both faculty and staff awareness and commitment than students did. Next slide reveals that the institutional representative fairly consider research and innovation on sustainable development. As shown, the mean ratings range from 3.47 to 4.04 on a 5-point scale. The most favored statement, research at the institution is interdisciplinary, obtained a mean of 4.04. The lowest mean of 3.47, indicating a neutral rating, is on the institution's support to research and sustainability with funding. The student placed the highest regard on the sustainable development knowledge for their future professional performance. In contrast, they gave the lowest mean rating of 3.37 on their involvement in sustainable community projects. Next slide indicates that the integration of sustainable development in the educational curriculum of their institution can be somehow rooted in terms of adding sustainable development knowledge elements to existing subjects such as in marine pollution, which is primarily environmental in dimension. However, it is evident that sustainable development is not yet pervasively integrated into the curriculum of the institutions involved in the study. Next slide shows that compared to other aspects of sustainable development prioritization in terms of operations, curriculum, and learning outcomes are quite highly favored. Also, institutional representatives gave higher regard than the students did. Unfortunately, only a handful of the institutions involved in the study have already signed a declaration as part of a network related to sustainable development. Next slide
Angelica,
shares.
please speed up.
Yeah. So that just shows how we conduct the sustainability in our institution. Next slide shows the overall implications of the research to human resource development. And then next slide, conclusion. This suggests that sustainable development is perceived to be of high importance, with environmental dimension as most essential. In addition, the respondents have a relatively high level of understanding of the concept of sustainable development. Let me provide the next slide, please, on the recommendation for human resource development, which is very important. Yes, so estimate. S stands for supervise and strengthen its campus by institutionalizing sustainable development in both short and long-term plans, including the use of technology, renewable energy, and other green practices for sustainability and human resource development. D, development and women for sustainability roles and document the initiatives. I, involve and incentivize or provide incentives to provide human resources whose activities contribute to sustainability. M, makes or integrates sustainable principles into disciplines, vision, mission, goals, and objectives, evaluation, teaching, curriculum, and practices for sustainability and human resource development. E, execute and evaluate initiatives and projects for sustainability and human resource development. And T, train people, human resources for sustainability. And then finally is the recommendation, next slide, for AMFUF. Considering that MAAP and other 16 MET institutions are active members of the association AMFUF, it is worth noting that for this 2021, the 19th AMFUF requires member universities to contribute papers with this theme for the human resource development. In line with this theme, this research with focus on human resource development is shared. It is recommended that AMFUF to proactively promote the integration of sustainable development principles among member institutions. The research further recommends adopting the ADCARD change process, which is a theoretical approach to change leadership and management from current to transition and then to the future. This change process creates and fosters awareness to desire to support the change, to knowledge of how to change, to ability to demonstrate the skills and behaviors for change, and to reinforcement to stick to change for sustainability. All these recommended actions based on findings will result to human resource development through estimate today and in the future for a smart maritime industry that certainly will contribute to sustainable development goals accomplishment. And last slide is the acknowledgement in the preparation of the whole paper. Next slide. So just to acknowledge the research grant provided by the IAMU and Nippon Foundation that resulted in the partnership with other IAMU member institutions, with me having served as a research partner representing MAP Philippines. And most importantly, I'm thanking God for the wisdom to be able to prepare this presentation in support of AMFUF 2021 call for papers with focus only on estimate towards human resource development for a smart maritime industry. Thank you and good day.
Thank you, Professor Angelica Bayon. You have actually presented on the very, very important human beings global issue, but unfortunately, we wouldn't have time to have Q&A. Sorry about that. Perhaps we could have Q&A and discussion in the next session about this very important SD issue. Thank you. So last but not least, presenter is Professor Seojung Lee. Seojung Lee, you have the floor.
Thanks very much, Professor John. Good afternoon and good evening, everyone, depending on the place where you are. I'm Seojung Lee of Korea Maritime and Ocean University, and I'm glad to give a presentation at this great conference. My presentation is about the KMOU, Korea Maritime and Ocean University's effort to introduce a major of AI and cybersecurity education into the traditional maritime college. I'd like to let you know that I'm presenting on behalf of the task force team to establish this major department where 5 KMOU brilliant colleagues, including myself, are working very hard. Next, please. I will highlight the motivation and the structure of the AI and cybersecurity education program in KMOU through my short presentation. Next, please. As you know, for the time being, the fourth industrial revolution will be a thriving issue, will be one of the thriving issues in the world. And this term is interpreted as a turning point from hardware-centered industry to the software one. This definition can also be applied to the maritime industry, meaning that the software education should be required to seafarers who are working and will be working on automated vessels. The IMO STCW does not provide any of those training subjects, as you know yet. However, the KMOU is planning to add the AI and cybersecurity major in order to improve maritime major students' software adaptability. This program starts in next year. Next, please. Nautilus Federation has conducted an interesting survey regarding the STCW, where the almost 1,000 maritime professionals are participated from more than 18 different countries to give a voice to the maritime education side. The participants are representing captains, masters, deck officers, chief engineer, and engineering officers, and a few of university lecturers and legal professionals. They found out some training gaps of current version of STCW, but the computing skills and IT skills are on top. This graphic of this slide shows that 80% participants are agreeing on electronic ETO, electronic technical office, to be a required member crew on as vessels become highly automated. Next, please. Like this survey, like this, we have sensed that seafarers will be expected to be capable with IT and software, and you might have some same thoughts on these two opinions. The first one is existing shops are operated by seafarers licensed by IMO STCW. However, the fully automated mass is expected to be controlled and managed by shore control facilities. This means the role of seafarers can be changed and reduced on board, as well as it means that the role of their role will be of remote operator will be bigger. The second opinion is the real world vessel operations are complicated, and there will still be a human error. It is just where in the process the error will arise. then still we have the needs of the qualified mariners to at sea won't disappear. It will grow instead of. The next generation of mariner will need to not only possess the traditional skills of good seamanship, but also the new skills of the automatic workplace. Next, please. On the other hand, work environment for mariners should be provided properly, where machine can be useful to reduce humans' work, not to give more burdens to them. This is an example. If this machine or machine on board can function as an adaptive team player, they will communicate and have joint awareness with humans of context and goals as the way the human does. To complete the watch change between human and machine, the current handover-related guidelines and checklists need to change to be applicable for human-machine handover. Next, please. With these stories I've mentioned before, the KMOU motivated very strongly to provide the AI and cybersecurity educations to maritime students. The Division of Maritime AI and Cybersecurity will be newly added to the College of Maritime Science, which is the fourth maritime sector being specialized in this education. The program will train creative and adaptive seafarers who will be in charge of the future vessel operation and maintenance. Next, please. This division has two streams with AI focus and cybersecurity focus. Each stream has its own specialties. For the AI part, according to the advance of AI technology, highly intelligent navigation and engine system will use technology on board as well as on shore. AI major deals with fundamental IT subjects and advanced AI technology. Subjects, this major will be separate to navigation course and engineering course. For the cybersecurity stream, these issues are getting crucial on navigating and engineering system, as you know, and then they should be highly secure from all kind of cyber-related attacks. This cybersecurity major provides education from fundamental IT to advanced cybersecurity subjects. This major is also will be separate to navigation course and engineering course from second year. Next, please. Next. This diagram shows, please go back. Yes. This slide shows the sketch of the students and studies. For the first year students, they will take liberal arts to build a personality on values for life and seamanship, state-of-the-art knowledge, as well as fundamental IT subjects. And second year students will take fundamental as well as advanced AI and cybersecurity related subjects. And junior third year students will take practical navigation and engineering field training on vessels. And the last year, fourth year students will take more advanced AI and cybersecurity subjects in addition to navigation and engineering subjects. Also, the students will make AI and cybersecurity-based software artifacts as a requisite of their graduation. Next, please. This diagram shows the structure of the program roughly. There are two streams, as I said, and after second year, and all the students needs to implement software, we are intending their efforts to implement and practice the software skills for their graduation. And next, please. After they complete this program, the students can become creative seafarers capable with AI and cybersecurity technology, as well as they can become software engineers as IMO licensed seafarers. They will be expertise on software test, software safety and security management, and software programming. Next, please. Conclusion. It is good timing to start to think about software education for future seafarers who will be required to operate automated and autonomous vessels in the near future. I've introduced KMOU's experience to open AI and cybersecurity educational program into the traditional maritime training course. But the ultimate goal of this program is to educate students to become AI and cybersecurity experts in this maritime sector. That's all. Yeah, thanks very much for your listening. I hope it's interesting to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Seo Lee. We have some time for one question. Can I have one question from online? Anyone who wish to make a question or comment? Well, I see none. Well, then I could get one question from floor. Okay, yeah, please go ahead. So
thank you very much for the presentations. And I saw on the presentation that you apply AI and cyber security education for the maritime education and trainings. So I would like to ask how many courses you apply for the navigation and maritime engineering. How many courses that you already applied? How many semesters? Did you already apply this for the training course in KMOU or not? Or that it is a theory research only?
Oh, yes. This program will start next year. Next term, next semester. So, now we are on the stage to build up the curricula for this program. Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe that the presentation made by Professor Seo Lee is a sort of brand new training program which encompasses both traditional subject under the STCW Convention as well as the new subject which is directed toward digital transformation. So I assume that they may have great difficulty in encompassing both sides of subjects. Professor Seo Lee, is there any next step plan for the standardization or to submit certain new qualification to the IMO?
To the IMO is very hard. Yeah. Now, actually, we have some big challenge to build up the proper curricula for students to how to educate and STCW requisites as well as the AI and cybersecurity subjects. Because of the lots of credits from STCW requirements, we can't manage enough AI and cybersecurity credits for the subjects. So the task force team has discussed something about your question actually, and then probably the STCW needs to be revised to fit into the next these requirements of the digitalization era, right? And also, I mentioned on one slide, for example, the handover checklists and related guidelines are not quite prepared to apply them to the automated ships and and entirely not fit to the fully automated masts. So IMO needs to look into the current version of the training related as well as the human and machine related guidelines which would be involved in human error. More detail to see if any points and any detail items needs to be replaced, revised, or take away, or put in newly. Yeah, that's that's my thought, opinion after a lot of discussions with the TFT team members. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Professor Seo Lee. Well, now I want to close this session too. Thank you for all presenters who actually presented very useful presentations and those who have actually participated in this Q&A session. Thank you.